Hello, livestock friends, and welcome to this edition of Before the Bid. This is a podcast dedicated to the livestock sales industry where we go behind the scenes of the operation and speak straight to the sellers. We discuss topics about the important aspects of their operation, location, the people behind the prep work, and talk about some of the animals that will be offered to you, the prospective buyers. Hopefully, you've got your sale catalog close by. You might have to go look through that pile on your desk. But if not, then you're probably like me and driving down the road or busy with chores around the farm. And that's okay too. Wherever you are and whatever you're doing, I hope you enjoy this segment of Before the Bid. I'm your host, Andy Howell. Welcome, livestock friends, to this edition of Before the Bid. And on this episode, we go to Wisconsin, and we are talking with an Angus operation. And their Angus sale this year is going to be on September the 11th, and they're calling it an Angus Decade Edition. And so we're talking to a guy tonight that actually kind of started in the horse world, and then he said he started helping some friends in their 4-H animals and that sort of thing, and got to clipping some cattle and running around doing some cattle. And so just a good guy that I've enjoyed talking to. I've actually been up and seen these cattle and talked with him a time or two here, and so I'm very happy to get him on the phone here tonight to talk about this one. And we're going to Riley Brothers in Darlington, Wisconsin, and again, they're having a sale on September 11th, and they're calling it the Angus Decade Edition. And tonight I'm talking with Chad Morrissey about these cattle and about the history and things of Riley Brothers. And Chad, appreciate you getting on here with me and getting this thing put together, and I'm really interested in hearing some things about the history of Riley Brothers and some of you guys' philosophies and things, and getting into those sale cattle. So I want to welcome you to the podcast.
Well, thanks, Andy. I appreciate you having me on, and I'm a huge fan of the show. I love what you're doing, and I find it so interesting. And the name of the podcast being Before the Bid, and talking to these breeders and discussing, all the work that goes into this pre-sale, and it's really neat how you do that, and I appreciate you having me on.
Well, I appreciate that. And if you hadn't listened, you said you've listened to a few of them. We put one out, which would be on, we're recording, it's actually the day before we're recording this, and we put one out, and it talks about some of the history of that. So you can get a little bit more information on that. So
Neat. I'll definitely tune into that.
But I appreciate you listening, appreciate you being a fan, and I know when I sent you the text message said, hey, what about this? You said, yeah, I love it. So just makes me feel good that you guys listen and enjoy it. And so, somebody that works there at Riley Brothers, a great operation. So I appreciate that a lot. Well, Chad, let's get into that. That's enough about us. Let's get into you a little here. And if you would, tell us a little bit about your history and kind of how you got started in the cattle business and things, and then kind of lead us up there into Riley Brothers.
All right. Well, first of all, I got to give you a big thank you for calling me a horse guy there to start with. I can only imagine the backlash of my Angus friends. But usually that's a secret I keep to myself.
Oh.
But it is. I grew up in a small town, Belmont, Wisconsin, not too far from Darlington. It's just 10 miles down the road. And Mom and Dad and the family, we grew up on horseback and quarter horses and trail riding and having fun with that. And my parents own a couple small printing businesses that I worked at, and I guess where I got into cattle is a lot of my good buddies in high school and later on in college were pretty involved in the 4-H programs, and I was one of them kids that just begged to go down to the fair, and all I wanted to do was sit on the show box in the show barn and have a turbo fan blowing in my face, and it just really latched on to it. Took pride in learning from them guys, and it wasn't too long. I had the clippers in my hand and probably in the beginning making a lot of mistakes with them, but just observed and always tried to surround myself with people that were superior than me and really watching them and learning. And so I got into clipping pretty heavy and doing some things. And there's kind of a funny story about that. One of my good friends, Lucas Clayton, that we still work with, and we kind of play around with some club calves here and there, but his last year at State Fair, he had bought a couple steers from Bob May, and he thought he had a pretty good chance at these things, and he was real nervous about getting them fit for the show. He ended up finding a neighbor down the road that had some market lambs. The rule at Wisconsin State Fair is you have to be family or an exhibitor of the fair to help fit an animal. So he found me a market lamb and entered me in state fair, and he took me up there. And I don't know anything about sheep, but I actually worked on this thing for a little bit and run him around till his tongue's out. I guess that's how they do those. But I took him up there and got my exhibitor band, and we go to fitting on his crossbred steer for the crossbred show up there. And the guy calls me. He says, "Hey, your lamb, it's going. We got to go in the ring with this thing." I said, "It's not why I came. It's not why I came." I said, "Can you grab somebody else and have them show it?" He says, "Yeah, we'll do it. We'll figure it out." And I felt terrible, but that's not why I was there. I was there to win the steer show with my buddy. And I'll tell you what, we got our butts kicked in the steer show, and my lamb won his crossbred class.
Oh my gosh!
And I went back up to the lamb barn to take him in for the overall crossbred thing, and they said, "Well, what class are you out of?" When I was walking in the ring, and I had no clue. I had no clue, but yeah, so that's kind of how I got into cattle. It's just kind of more on the 4-H side of things, and that's how I met the Riley brothers, John and Jeff Riley. And at the time Glenn Davis was here, as they were getting some cattle ready for some consignment sales and stuff, and then needed me to come up and asked me to come up and clip some for them. So that's how I met them guys, and ever since I stepped foot on the farm, they were great people to be around, and I enjoyed it. And I latched on to cattle so much. I've realized that in my life, in the club calf world, it's hard to make that a consistent business. There's professionals out there that are absolutely awesome at it and do make a living out of it. I realized that if I wanted to be involved in cattle full time as an occupation, that maybe the Angus world is something I ought to learn, and started spending more and more time up at Riley Brothers and really learning from Glenn and John and Jeff, and really latched on to it. And now it's, when you're talking to me, it's either family or cattle, and that's my life, so. But that's kind of how I got into cattle. Not that wasn't a horse guy. We'll leave that there. But I tell you what, once I got involved in the cattle, I fell in love with it real easy.
Right. Well, that's a great story. Isn't it so funny how sometimes you go to a show and you're geared towards this one really doing good, and something else kind of sneaks in there, and what a great
anymore, whether we're going to a show or going to a sale, it's not that you don't have your expectations high, but I try to be more realistic with it. And it's always better to have the underdog attitude than going somewhere thinking you're going to top a sale or win a show. So I'd much rather be surprised.
So you got through all of that, and you've been at Riley Brothers now for 12 years, correct?
Yep. So I worked there part-time, helping them in and out whenever I wasn't in college, and whenever they'd squeeze me in, they'd always have me, and been there full-time for quite a few years since, and stepped into the herd manager position when Glenn moved on to Linds's, and it was an easy fit for me, and I knew the cattle as good as anybody, and it's just kind of more having the more responsibility and making the bigger decisions. So it's been a blast, and I love working for Jeff Riley and Judy. I don't want to ever leave her out. Judy Riley's she's the captain of the crew. That'd be Jeff's mom. So we always kind of talk about her as she's kind of our bird in the sky. She's got a little Ranger she drives around the farm on, and if you aren't busy when she drives by, you better be finding something to do, because she's watching.
Got to have somebody to keep everybody in line, right?
Yeah, and she just gives her sweet little innocent wave to you, and you know exactly what it means.
Right. Well, you have started a family since you've been there at Riley Brothers, and why don't you introduce them to us?
Yep. So I'm married to my wife, Melanie. I have 2 kids, Trey and Madden. Trey just turned 3 years old, and Madden's 5 months. So the house can be a little hectic. I'm thankful for my wife right now to have them kids under control, because usually when I get home from work, it's dad time and they're crawling all over me. So she's doing her best right now to keep that at bay. So I appreciate that. And it's been a blast having Trey around, my boy. And obviously Madden's pretty young, but Trey being 3 now, he goes out to the farm with me quite a bit, and he loves cattle, and it's just a blast having him around. His biggest flaw we're working on right now is everything's a bull. So whether we're out looking at cows or this and that, it's bull this or bull that. And I think that's maybe growing up in Wisconsin. when surrounded by dairy farms is he thinks that the black and white ones are girls and the black ones are boys, but we'll get that figured out at a later age.
Right, right. Well, and you guys have some good bulls up there, and a bunch of bulls from time to time too. But he'll get broke of that pretty quick.
Yeah, so. But he enjoys the farm, and that's my biggest joy is having him and being able to share that with him. So it's fun. One of those deals when you have kids too. You never want to push them. I'm always trying to make the farm cool. I don't want to ever make it a chore. You know what I mean? Right. I don't ever want to push cattle on him. I want it to be his decision. And maybe he'll show pigs or sheep or ride horses or dirt bikes. But as long as whatever he decides to do, as long as he's passionate about it, I'll be his biggest supporter. But it's been fun having him at the farm, and I hope he stays excited as he is now.
Right. Well, that's great. Well, I've learned, and everybody always told me when you've got them that young, man, just hang on to them, because before you know it, you blink your eye and it's over, and they're 14 or 15, and so just hang on to them and keep taking him with you and enjoying that for sure.
You never take them enough.
You're right. Well, Chad, tell us a little about Riley Brothers and about Jeff and about that operation and what it's all about, if maybe we don't know about them.
Yeah, absolutely. So we run a large amount of cows, but mainly besides the cows, we're just a row crop operation. One thing we're really proud of here at Riley Brothers is that we're farmers. Mm-hmm. There's no outside investment in this farm. This is a farm that supports itself. At the same point, we try to be as diverse as we can too. So when the trucks aren't hauling out of the field in the fall, they're running grain to ethanol plants. And when the guys aren't in the field harvesting or planting, they're helping with cattle. And, we're trying to work on getting a little online meat store going and doing some farmers markets with some beef. And we feed out our own cattle. But one thing you always ask Jeff is when he's talking about business with you, and he always tries to be diverse with his decisions, because some years the corn market's great, some years it's not, some years the cattle are where you want them to be, sometimes it's not. But if you keep your spread out and your roots wide, I think that's what's important to him, and that's one thing you'll always hear from him when he's talking about business. And Jeff's a great businessman and an awesome boss to work for. So, but that's just that's who we are. We're farmers, and I think for anybody that has met us or wants to come up for a visit, I think you'll find yourself very comfortable, sitting down, and just the camaraderie with the whole crew, not just myself or Jeff, but Jim and the rest of the guys. I mean, they're busy guys, and should mention my help and talk about them guys. Tom Edwards, he just had, I think it was last year at our bull sale, we did a big special on him. He's been with the Riley family for 20 years, and he's my feed guy. He doesn't get involved probably on the registered end of things a whole lot, but he's the one that keeps them fed. He's the one that's shoveling the bunks out after a big rain or a snow. So Tom's been an awesome guy, and kind of my right-hand man to the cattle is Tim Salati. And if you ever call me, or if I'm gone or not getting back to you, that's the guy you need to talk to. He knows the cattle as good as I do. Tim's awesome. He's whenever there's a decision to be made or anything, he's the guy I discuss it with. Troy Kenyon's our newest guy to the crew. I brought him on. I just needed a little bit more extra cattle work. Begged Jeff to get an extra cattle guy in here, and we'll laugh about this with Troy, but he comes in here to do cattle work, and he finds himself in a semi or grain cart or planting corn or wrenching on something in the shop. But that's just kind of how this operation works, is you got to be able to do everything. So Scott McDonald's been with us. He's great cattle help. And then you got the Riley boys. Josh Riley would be John's son, and then Jeff's two boys, Mitchell and Michael. So it's a great crew of guys to work with. We all do a little bit of everything. I'll be the first one to admit that I'm the one that probably is the least diverse. I do cattle probably 360 days out of the year, but every once in a while I'll get burnt out, and 5 days in a tractor ain't too bad either. So right. I'll do a little bit of work here, but I'll also be the first one to wreck it. So they don't always need me. This summer I got myself in a little trouble. I was unhooking a chopper box, and I'd done it 30 times that day in the same spot, and got out and pulled the pin and drove away. And you look back in the field, and there goes the wagon, and all I could do is see everybody shaking their head. And I had to think to myself, I've unhooked a wagon there how many times a day, and it's just got to be one of the cattle gods gave that thing a big shove and laughed at me and told me to get back to doing my cattle stuff because the field and the equipment's not where I belong.
And a good way to get yourself fired, right? Or get yourself fired from that job so you can go back to the cattle.
How's that go? Yeah, you do it once, it's an accident. You do it twice, it's stupidity. So I got to watch myself because I'm right on the verge of going the other way with that. So no more mistakes for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoy doing the field work, and in the Wisconsin dynamic of crops, we got a lot of fields everywhere, and we farm a good amount of acres, and it's hard to put a big acreage together around here. So there's a lot of moving around, or these guys need seed, or guys need fuel. So when I'm not doing cattle stuff, I'm gopher into them guys and trying to keep the operation running a little smoother. So I enjoy that too.
Well, that's awesome. How long have Riley Brothers been farming and been in the cattle business?
Oh man, I don't know exactly. I think probably 5 or 6 years ago. I think maybe we had a 75th anniversary of the farm. I'm guessing 80, somewhere around 80 years. It's a multi-generational farm. Like I said, Jeff's mom, JD, is still really involved and kind of oversees us and keeps a good eye on us. So, and we still farm on the original farm where it was all started. They used to be dairy farmers and then transitioned to being commercial beef farmers. And then when they brought Glenn Davis on, he brought in the purebreds and developed that. So, like I said, Jeff's always wanting to diversify and manage the risk of farming as good as he can. So, I guess that's my responsibility now is to manage this purebred end and make that as good as I can.
So not just one of those pop-up herds, pop-up farms, you say about 80 years. And
like you mentioned, we've been in the business, I think it's been 16, 17 years on the registered side of things, and this is our 10th production sale, and I'll guarantee you there'll be 10 more after that and 10 after that. That's how Jeff does business, and he does it in an honest and responsible way, and does it in a way that he can limit his risk and be around and be just a great man at business. So I have no doubt in my mind that there'll be a 20th and a 30th sale here at Riley Brothers.
Right. Well, that's great. And it'll come along just because of the starts you guys have had and the high quality cattle and some of those things that, you can tell Jeff is one of those guys. If he's going to do it, he wants to do it right and get the right crew in there and get those guys in there. And Right. What are some of the breeding philosophies that you guys have that it's going to be able to keep this thing going on for the next 20, 30 years and things, and why there's so much success right now?
Right. So, like I said, when they got into the registered business, they brought on Glenn Davis. Glenn's my father-in-law and married his stepdaughter, Melanie. But when they brought in Glenn Davis, and Glenn he grew up with Angus cattle, and he said, all right, if we're going to do this thing, we need to go back and we need to buy these 3 cows. So it goes back to the Lady Cow family, one that Glenn grew up with and developed. And they bought these cows in, and they were older genetics, being the VRDs and 6807s, but with genomics and, progressive breeding. I mean, we caught them up EPD-wise. The cattle were always good, but EPD-wise, we started behind. But powerful cows. I remember one of the first cows I clipped on for Riley Brothers was the 308 cow. And they were taking her down to a consignment sale as a proven donor, and this thing was just, I didn't know that Angus like this existed. I mean, and I think maybe that's where they caught my attention is in the show ring, at the time they were kind of bad-haired, frail-boned, kind of, feminine-looking heifers. But, man, I didn't know that Angus could be this powerful and this impressive. So I really latched on to these and got involved in their program. But I think where we're lucky at Riley Brothers, and I always worry, where our niche is in the market and with this Lady Cow family, and they're getting so spread across the country where there's a lot of them out there, but I think we're so small and there's so much untouched space with this thing. But it's a family that I've grown up with. It's a high growth family. It's a true power cow family. It's just putting a little twist on them here and there to grab the current market. The one thing I'll never breed or never go away from is the power and growth. I mean, we truly believe, and we all know that our commercial cattleman gets paid on by the pound and gets cattle run across the scale. So number one priority for me is always growth and power, and I won't go too far away from that. But at the same time, I try to keep these things as balanced as possible. So if I get a big power cow and sometimes she has a flaw maybe on the carcass, and I'm comfortable with plugging that type of carcass animal on a power cow just to try to average out her EPDs, but I know I won't lose my power completely 100%. So I think that, sometimes I don't want to say mistakes people make, but they single trait breed year after year after year on one trait, and I think we can lose kind of the functionability and, the real world traits of our cattle, and that makes me a little bit nervous. I mean, I'll be the one to tell you that I genomic every one of my calves. I'm a believer in it. I love the system, but I also grew up, surrounded by dairy farmers here in Wisconsin, where the dairy industry was involved in the genomics way before our Angus breed was, and
right.
15, 20 years before us, they were in it and bred for milk and milk and milk because that's what mattered to them, and they lost their fertility, they lost their structure, they lost their cow sense, kind of single trait selecting. So I think that's something we have to be very careful as we move forward in the Angus breed.
And you kind of alluded to something earlier that you got to be able to look at them a whole lot more than you do trying to paper breed these things.
Right. And like I said, I mean, my first years in the cattle were in show cattle. So a lot of my friends and my show jockey friends, they'll laugh at me and just tell me I'm a numbers guy. But I tell you what, you can come look at some of my donor cows and they could go stand in a clubby program or a Simmenthal guy's herd and be as good as any of them. And yet they still got a set of numbers beside them. And that's something I'm proud of. And hey, a lot of them guys will be calving out cows, hoping for a bull or hoping for a heifer and be upset when they don't get what they want. And this Angus thing, it doesn't matter to me one bit. My vet always teases me when we're spray checking. He says, "You need to know the sex of this one?" I said, "Not unless you can change it." Doesn't matter to me.
Right.
We'll market a good bull. I mean, it doesn't matter what sex it is or what shape it is or what the pedigree is, but just physically getting an animal that you can enjoy is really important.
Right. And I remember when I came up there with Glenn and Jeremy Hag a couple years ago, I was so impressed with how powerful these cows are. And then you started talking some numbers and this one's a this and this one's a this. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense to me. How this set of cattle this set of powerful cattle can be this well numbered and not bred exactly for the numbers, but just bred for the power, and the numbers come with it. And I just remember being so impressed with that a few years ago.
That's just where we've been so fortunate with this cow family. I mean, it has been absolutely one of the most prolific things I've dealt with, and not only are they so powerful, it's the fertility. Our flush program's been so good here, and the fertility on these cows, my embryo vets are just absolutely amazed. I can bring on partners to donors that can satisfy both programs. Our bulls can go off to stud and pop off semen at a young age, and they can create the volume of semen to handle the number one bull in registrations in 17 was RV Tour Duty, and but I think he sold more volume of semen in 1 year than any bull ever has, and produced enough to do it. So the fertility has been absolutely outstanding with this family, and they do so much right. It's really just been a joy to work with them.
Well, that's great, and I do. I just remember that about that set of cattle. And Chad, you talk about some of these embryos and things, and something that I thought was really interesting about the satellite farms or the lack thereof in you guys' program.
Right. Everything here is raised on the farm. We do have a few commercial cows left, but we're getting bigger into the registered recip program. So basically, I'll retain probably, I would say, 85% of my registered heifers every year. That first year, them heifers all get run through an AI based off of how they do with their first calf. You get to either stay in the AI program or you go to the embryo program. So slowly the commercial cows are leaving. I think within a year or two they'll be gone and we'll be 100% registered. But that is nice, and I understand Angus's gimmick of why they allow that program and us registering all them cattle, and it's just more data. It's definitely a benefit to the embryo calves. So it's a really, really neat program and something we're really focused on here at Riley Brothers.
Right. And if you need some more cattle for the sale or something, you can always breed them back Angus and roll right with them.
Right. And it's not always that, they're not good enough cows that have a calf, but, there's only so much room for AI and cows, and my superior ones are going to stay there. And I'll laugh, I'll give tours and we'll go through some kind of our recip and different our ET pastures, and guys will be blown away with cows, and I'll say, heck yeah. I said, that's an awesome cow. I said, she deserves to be AI'd. I said, the Angus Association probably didn't like her genomics or beat me up on her, and she's just not as marketable as the ones I got in the AI program. So there's lots of great cows everywhere, but they can all serve a purpose. And like I said, I can go through my recip pastures and enjoy every recip in there. I mean,
Right.
that's not what the program's about. I don't think they're less superior physically. They're just maybe something that's not as marketable about them, maybe in their pedigree or maybe a defect that the Angus Association threw on us or something. But either way, they serve their purpose and are fantastic cows.
And probably a lot of other guys would come in there and want to take those cows and
Absolutely.
maybe make some donors out of them or put them in their top AI program.
I've sold actually a couple of recip cows that I was using that are in some club cat programs right now as donors. So
Oh, wow.
that just goes to show you that just the mass and the volume of how deep our herd is. I mean, people would laugh at me on some of these recips. So, but it's just how your system works, and I feel like that's a compliment to the program is how deep we can go on cattle around here, and I think there's a lot to be said about this sale that we're putting on this year. It's deep a long ways, and it just I have a lot of options around Riley Brothers, and we have a really, really, really good embryo program and great vets around here. So it's we can excel quickly, and it's just making sure that we make the right breeding decisions and then don't go backwards on it.
Right, and along with that, you've talked a little about some of the cattle that you've sold and maybe the recips, but you guys have sold some awfully good cattle that have went across the country and really made a big splash. And you got a few of those that come to mind, or maybe some of the herd bulls or bulls that you guys have sold?
I'll tell you a story. We were working on getting this catalog out here for our sale this fall, and on September 11th sale here, and Joel, our new manager, asked me, he said, I want to do a legacy page. He said, I want you to give me 3 cows or 6 cows, depending on if you want to do 1 page or 2 page. He says, pick me your greatest ones. I said, that's probably the hardest thing I've had to think about in a long time. I couldn't narrow it down to 3, and then I said, let's do 6, and I couldn't narrow it down to 6. I mean, that's just a testament to the program. It's not that there's not 6 great cows or 3 great cows that have left this place. There's so many more and so many success stories. I just didn't know how to select that few of cows. It's one thing we're really proud of here at Riley Brothers, and it's the dynamic of our customers. And we work with a lot of ground floor people, guys just getting into the business. We work with some of the most established programs in the country, and maintaining the friendships on all levels is something I love doing. It's so good to catch up with the established guys and pick their brains and learn from them. But yet I love working with the ground floor guys and the guys that are eager to get in this and be somebody. I mean, I take great pride in that. And what's really, really nice about working with the Riley family is they're so lenient to me is to go ahead and help these guys. I mean, Jeff's not a selfish person with me. If these guys need help picturing or these guys need help breeding cattle, I'll go spend a couple days with them. Make sure they're making the right decisions. As we all know, when we buy cattle these days, we're not just buying cattle for fun. We're buying cattle for an investment. I want to make sure that these guys are making the right investment and doing it with Riley Brothers and making sure we're following through. You're not going to buy a cow from me and not hear from me on down the road. We're going to be friends, and we're going to have a great friendship, and I'm going to treat that cow as an investment you made and an investment you made in us, and I'll follow through with that and make sure everybody's doing the right thing.
And so I guess kind of a question or a statement here. You guys have some knockout cattle. Let's be real honest. This sale they're not all going to be this crazy high price because you guys like to make it so everybody can buy cattle.
And I'm not one of them guys that it's going to jump up and down and blast my average up on Facebook. I tell you what I want to do is I want to sell cattle to good people, and I want these cattle to be successful. Like you just said, we were just talking about, and you asked me to name some cows that have been successful, and I could go on and on and on about these cows that have gone places and made money for people, and I'd love to tell you all them stories, but I don't think we have enough time for that tonight. But that's what I love. I don't need to have a $40,000 average. I want cattle to bring an honest price. You'll find out that when you do business with Riley Brothers, we're not guys that play games. We're guys that do honest business, and we want people to buy our cattle, and we want to be paid to what they're worth. Whatever that is what the hammer drops on that day. We'll not goof around with you. We're not going to floor cattle on you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're not going to play those type of games. And I've seen great ones leave the barn for $3,000, and I've seen people make hundreds of thousands on a $3,000 heifer.
Mm-hmm.
I won't go naming names, but there's been a couple, and more power to them.
Right.
And that's how you get repeat customers, you know?
Right. How you get repeat customers and keep happy customers. And
exactly. I want people to make money. When an animal leaves this farm, I don't want that to be that animal's greatest day.
Right.
And that's really important. That's something Glenn taught me. He said to make sure you always follow through with people. He says, and treat that as an investment and treat them as your friend. He said, make sure that they're successful, and that'll be the business you do after that will be the easiest business you ever do.
Right. Well, speaking of selling these cattle and the sale and things like that, you have a new sale manager coming on.
Yep.
And also you have a new auctioneer for this year's sale.
Right. Yep. We brought in Cody Lauderman as an auctioneer and Joel Judge as a manager. In the past, we had worked with Scott Crawford and Jeremy Haig, and them guys are like family to me. They're two very good guys. I still talk to them regularly, and I think it was just time to freshen things up. Jeremy moved along, and we just felt like every once in a while it's good to keep things and keep everybody on their toes. So we brought Joel in and Cody in. I think all my customers are going to love these guys. You know, if anybody that has met Riley Brothers, we're big on personality and fitting us and making sure that you're comfortable with our program and who we are. And these two guys are great guys. And it'll be so nice having them. For those of you guys that don't know Joel is one of the most honest cattlemen I've met. When I asked him to do my sale, he said, I don't do a whole lot of sales. He said, I'd like to come up and look at your operation and look at your cattle first before I make that decision. And I thought to myself right away, this is going to be good. Because whether I'm right or wrong, I just want somebody that's going to do honest business with us, because that's how we like to do business. So once Joel got up here and got to looking on these cows, he said, yeah, let's do it. And what I like about Joel, too, is that he said, I don't need to be hog wild and running around and doing a bunch of these sales. He said, I want to do the right sales, and I want to do it with the right people. So we're so fortunate to have Joel, and I shouldn't leave Courtney out. His wife Courtney does an awful lot with the catalog, and he always refers to her as the boss. So I haven't got to meet Courtney yet, but it sounds like she's in control. So I'm looking forward to that day.
How often does that happen with a couple? She's the boss, and he just kind of goes with it, right?
I think that's how we find peace in life. Yeah, absolutely.
Got to have that in my house, too.
I'm excited to have them guys on this year. I think it'll be fun. And along with that, we brought Glenn Davis back. He's on his new adventure with Genetic Pathways Consulting. So Glenn's going to be back working with us. Joe Beaver used to be the manager of Powell Farms in Tennessee that were great customers with us. Joel's running his consulting deal now and was always a great friend with us, so he's back. Zach Moffitt, he's kind of our East Coast guy, really good cattleman, somebody that knows the Lady family well, and he's going to be flying in here shortly. So kind of a variety of consultants that we're bringing on, and really good guys that I'm excited to work with.
And the sale is going to be on Saturday, September 11th. Going to be an evening sale. Start there at 5 o'clock, and that's Central Time there at Darlington, Wisconsin. And if you can't make it, we'll just throw this out there right now. If you can't make it, Live Auctions is going to be there that you can bid.
Brooklyn will be in-house. She's an absolute sweetheart. So get a hold of Brooklyn if you got any troubles with Live Auctions. But that's our go-to on our internet. Brooklyn's a sweetheart.
Yeah, very good to work with. Worked with her a couple times, and actually Brooklyn said, maybe you ought to call Chad and see if he wants to do one of those podcasts. So we'll give her credit for this one.
I'll have to thank her. Yeah, I will.
Yeah, we both will. So, Chad, are you ready to get into some of these cattle and talk about some of the lots that you're going to have in this sale?
Absolutely. I'd love to introduce a couple of these things. I won't go through every lot, but I'll just kind of go and give you a few that I think that the Angus community needs to know about, and some of the stuff we're getting attention on already that we're getting excited about.
Right. Let me stop just a second. Where can they see this catalog? Because my understanding is there's not, at recording time, there's not a whole lot of guys that have catalogs.
Right. It should be in the mail this week. It is online at angus.org, or you can follow us on our Facebook page, at Riley Brothers Angus on Facebook. That's where we live. It's where all our current information's at. So I advise anybody go to our Facebook page. We try to manage that really, really well and keep all our up-to-date information there. But the catalog is on angus.org under sale books. So you can see it there now, but hopefully you'll have it in hand soon. If you don't know if you're on our mailing list, which sometimes that's hard to nail down what that is, but if you're nervous about getting the catalog, just call me and we'll get you on the list and we'll get you one mailed as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at the catalog off of RileyBrothersAngus.com, so it's right there and really easy to find.
Yep.
So another place they can get that if maybe they're not watching the podcast video or don't have that in hand while we go through these. So
yep.
Chad, you open this book and man, there's two powerful ones right there.
Right.
In the lot 1 and 2, and why don't you just start talking about them?
Yeah, so these two cows here, these two cows mean a lot to me. They've been kind of the lead-off donors in my donor pen the last few years. They're kind of my go-tos. So these two here, these will be cows that the farm will be missed. Our protocol is we try to sell our 4 or 5 year old donors. We want to sell cows that are in the prime of their life, cows that have already proven themselves here in our embryo program. Cows I have data back on, cows that I know are superior. And that's exactly what these two are. The lot 1 cow, she's lot 1 for a reason. There's very few cows that have been, it's really hard to describe a cow this good. I mean, physically, this thing is one of the most powerful, correct, great footed. I mean, this is one of the best footed Angus cows you'll come across. She's so big bellied and powerful. And what I love about her more than anything is her being a way up, timeless. She's really, really outcrossed to what bulls are current and what bulls are happening in the breed today. This is a cow you can breed to absolutely any of the current sires that's desirable in the industry, but more importantly, to be a proven donor and still have the number set that she is so impressive. I think this is as close to a cow I've ever been around that does absolutely everything right.
Mm-hmm.
We're selling a power play daughter standing right next to her, just a young calf that just keeps getting better and better all the time. If this cow doesn't set herself off and make herself famous in this female sale, everybody's going to know about this cow when it comes to my bull sale in February.
Mm-hmm.
I have one of the best set of embryo calves I've ever had any single cow on this farm. This cow here can make some bulls.
Mm-hmm.
She is absolutely awesome. I mean, these bull calves are going to just blow people's minds. It's been just outstanding, and not too many times when people come to the female sale to look at cows, do I want to, take them and show them some bull calves, but found myself on my first few early tours here is just, it's hard to put in words what I think of this cow and what this cow can do, but I'd rather just go show you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just absolutely jaw-dropping what this thing can do, and to have her flexibility of her pedigree, I think she's pretty rare.
Right.
So that's why she's lot 1. This has been probably one of the most special cows I've been around. So
mm-hmm.
She'll be missed, but I tell you what, somebody's going to have an awful lot of fun with her. And just to boot, she's bred to EZR Adoration. It's a young sire of Grimius's that was the leadoff bull at EZ in California. She's got a heifer calf in her, and I think this heifer calf will be worth an absolute fortune.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a big token coming soon there.
Right.
So lot 2 cow is just absolute freaking nature. I think Joel said it best when he walked up on her. His exact words is, he said, "I've never seen an Angus cow like this."
Mm-hmm.
She is one of the stoutest bone, biggest footed cows that you'll ever come across. Joel said to me exactly, he said, "Chad," he goes, "does this thing have numbers?"
Slightly, yes.
Yeah, she's got pretty good numbers. And he goes, "Well, she doesn't need them." He said she could be in anybody's Simmental program, limousine program, raising club calves. He said, "I don't care if she has numbers or not. This is one of the best cows I've ever seen." So that's kind of the best way to describe the lot 2 cow, and she's got the numbers to go along with her.
Mm-hmm.
I think one that's just awfully special, one that took an awesome picture for me, but is even better in person. And this thing will just blow you away with power, and she's so photogenic and up-headed, and the fertility is awesome. I own her with the Gaffney family up in Barneveld. She serviced both of our programs well with embryos. I looked up her flush records the other day for somebody, and she's averaging 23 on 7 flushes.
Oh, wow.
So she's been an awesome embryo producer, but physically one of the best cows you'll ever see. And you can kind of see if you're reading through some EPDs is the Angus Association wanted to beat her up on birth weight a little bit in CD. That was kind of her hiccup, and but I want to make it very clear that if you look at the lot 2A and 2B heifers,
oh wow,
you can see how them heifers are genomic. Negative birth, 14 CD. You get into 2B is the growth fund out of her, which is absolutely a lights out heifer, and again 11 CD and 0.9 on birth. So you'd like to say that's where you'd like to beat that cow up, but the next generation likes to prove that wrong. So
right.
I think this is a cow that's just absolutely special, and the 2B heifer is absolutely outstanding out of her. I mean, that thing is really, really good looking and a powerful set of EPDs to go with her, but we're really, really strong through our fall yearling heifers in this group. Glenn Davis was through the other day, and he says that's the heart of your sale. He said you could go in and buy any of these fall heifers, these fall yearling open heifers. He said they are all donor quality, so there's not a bad one in the group. I agree 100%. That's why I sorted them, and that's why I put them there. But it's a pretty good group of heifers, and it's fun showing them to people. But you get into like 3 and 4. Last year, if you watched our sale, the lot 1 cow was the 7173 donor. She was purchased by Lynn's Heritage Angus and Herbster Angus Farms. That was probably next to maybe the 760 cow in that aging group. That age group of that model of calves, and those were always the 2 best cows between the 760 and the 7173. So lot 3, lot 4 go back to the lot 1 cow last year. 3 being a dually, that's 321. I'm not a big guy to pull up sorts and figure out where she ranks on what's higher. I'm a pretty as-is guy, but I'm assuming that's probably one of the highest dually heifers in the breed there in lot 3.
Mm-hmm.
The alternative heifer is just an awesome heifer. She's off a first calf heifer out of 7173 that's clean, and an alternative out of her. But I do a fair amount of judging, and I like to think I can study good cattle. This one's really, really young in her picture here when we had to do these catalogs, so she's pretty little there. But as far as the new PGS show and what's happening there and kind of the dominance the Lady family has, I think this is one I'd go find and look at, because this thing is so pretty, and she is so massive and big-bellied now and so correct and sound. Like I said, she's really young in that picture, but I think this one's got a really bright future if that's something you're looking for, and she balances right up EPD-wise to be competitive in that program. So I think that's one that'll be interesting as far as that thing goes.
Mm-hmm. On that picture of her, you've got the PGS stamp. You've got that throughout the catalog, right?
Yep. So, yeah, we just kind of selected a couple of these things. There's quite a few we could go deeper on. Like the lot 3 heifer can show, lot 5 heifer can show. I think I just kind of put that there on ones that are absolute standouts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think there's lots of options we could do and go there, and heifers that might turn it on and get better than some of them. But I guess when we were making those catalogs, Joel asked me to pick a couple of them. Those are the ones we kind of landed on that I think are my picks. So. Mm-hmm. That's why you'll see that on a couple of those pictures. But we get into the lot 5 heifer. I think this one's really unique, just pedigree-wise. I mean, a Panther Creek Incredible out of a No Doubt Identity. Just an absolute sweetheart of a heifer. Panther Creek Incredible is about the Krebs zone. Pretty rare deal. You don't see too many of those out there. This one, being monster numbered, $323 C. And just looks the part. She's already looking like a donor cow. Just big, stout twist and muscle in her, and really, really powerful. And we own her with the Emmy Group. It's a group of guys from Minnesota that have invested in our program, and they bought her mom as the Lot 1A heifer a few years back, and this is her first natural calf. So it's exciting to have them guys to be a part of the sale too. So I appreciate them.
Mm-hmm. You'll sell her as a whole without them retaining anything of her.
I'll kind of explain how that works. On a few of these lots in here, you'll see on the second note, and they're putting their footnotes, it'll say owned with. What that is in our program here at Riley Brothers is if you want to invest and have interest in an animal, more than willing, we'll be okay to do that with you. And how that program works is that donor is welcome to stay here at Riley Brothers if you choose to have her stay here. She stays here free of charge. Well, we will house her year-round, breathe her, calve her out. We split the embryos 50-50, split the embryo bill 50-50, keep it clean and dry. I ship you your embryos. My embryos stay here, so we don't get anything mixed up there and me raising somebody else's calves. And then no matter if she has a bull or a heifer, all natural calves go on my sale, so we don't keep creating more partnerships. So I think that's one of the difficulties you get in that. And and getting too many partners involved is
Right.
there's too many variables that go along with it, but we keep it very, very neat and very clean and dry with our customers. And everybody I've worked with on that just loves that about us, and they love having the opportunity to sell one in my sale when they get one. So that's kind of how we handle that. But you'll see that in the book here. There's a few of these co-owned heifers, and there's some of my partners, some of my best friends, and it's a joy to sell cattle for them.
Okay, good.
That's kind of how that works. But
Right.
We'll get into 6 and 6A. I've had some tours, some people go through and go through them fall open heifers that I told you were so good. A lot of times they'll land on lot 6. I think 6 is naturally the growthiest, most powerful heifer in that age group. And I had quite a people come through and land on her. One of the best baby calves in the sales, 6A. And like I said, when I took these pictures, they were pretty young, but this heifer here will just absolutely blow you away in person. I sent a video of her to the guy I co-owned that donor cow with the other day, and he just absolutely fell in love with her, and she's just a sweetheart. And the Angus Association found some genomic markers in her and found some growth that they liked, and she's up there pushing 194 to 200
Right.
yearling weight, and I agree with that 100%. She's the growth heifer of that contemporary group, and I think they hit her head on. So that one there I think is pretty special. Lot 7, I mean, if you just wanted to sort numbers in the sale as a number package, I think this one's pretty dang elite. A jet black going back to a 1682 with double-digit CD, 170 a year, $200 beef, $327 seed, pushing 100 carcass weight, which I'm a big believer in. Dollar M's nice, milk's nice. I mean, there's just really no holes in this heifer EPD-wise. So I think one that's just really unique as a breeding piece there. So I think Lot 7's cool that way. Lot 8 is a co-owned heifer with FC Angus, and Kevin Kramer's the owner down there. Kevin's an awesome guy. This will be one of the, I think it might be the first. I don't know if she is the first, but if she isn't, she's one of the very few that have ever sold out of the Ultra Provider Bull of Gramiuses. This heifer here, she was a little late to creep feed and was a little skinnier in this picture, but she has really put it on since, and she's just a really good shouldered, really, really like traditional Angus looking heifer that just has a monster EPD package. And some of the people that come in through farm tours, maybe some of my cattle are a little too extreme for them, a little too much, but this is a little bit more traditional based, but really, really current on her EPDs. So I think that one's kind of cool and unique that way. 9 and 9A are a +1 and a Pause Maverick out of our 5509 donor that I own with Brumfields in Michigan. 5509 is an awesome cow, and you definitely can see it in these two daughters. My personal favorite, 9A heifer, the Pause Maverick heifer, she got kind of a smaller picture on that page. That one's really, really good in person. I think one that people will find on sale day. As we get deeper in this catalog, I mean, I don't need to go through all these lots and kind of tell you a little bit about everything, but there's absolutely some more natural calves in here that are alpha donors that are awesome. The 11A heifers is a natural calf that I own with the Russell family in Missouri. It'll be great to have them up for a sale. That one's really phenotypically good. The girlfriend sister to her up top on that page is just an absolute powerhouse. She'll be cool. Get back into like 14, 15, some really good spring heifer calves. 15 is a Wilkes Regiment. It's a bull that Wilkes has sold in Denver. I believe the Select, Lenses, maybe Four Sons. I don't want to go name names, something like that. I bought in on that bull, and Aaron Kaiser does an awesome job down at Wilkes's, and I got to see that bull, and that bull's pretty dang good. So we went and plugged him in a few places, and that heifer's really special. I think she'll be a sale day favorite for some people. But as we get back further into the catalog, and there's just an awful lot of good breds in here, and like we talked about earlier, I'm not one that needs to have a $20,000 average on the sale. I mean, sure, I'll take it and it'd be awesome, but I want to make sure that people at all levels and all budgets can come to my sale and buy good cattle. So we just go into a really good set of bred heifers. There's some awesome bred heifers, and you can see as we get back into 18, 19, 19A, your EPD packages, your pedigrees, we're not dropping off. I mean, these cattle are absolutely good. I just don't want to bore you guys and go talk them all. It gets into like 22 is a beast mode heifer, and that's a bred heifer that's really, really cool. She's a 1-4 marbling heifer, which is kind of crazy for our lady cow family. But, we could go on and on about these breds, but like I said, I just want people to know that I don't want you to ever shy away or be timid about coming to a sale, because I want you to know that we're going to sell $2,000 cows. We're going to sell $2,000 calves. We hope that it's always better than that, but we want to make sure that everybody comes here and buys some cows, and make sure that we work with people on all levels. I think that's really important to us. So,
Right.
I always tell people when they call me, they're just like, "Oh, well, which ones do you like?" And that's a question everybody asks me, and I always answer that with it is, "What do you need?"
Right. Right.
What are you looking for? You know, I mean, I don't want to go try to sell lot one to everybody in the world.
Exactly.
She's geared towards some programs. What do you need? Do you want to raise a bull calf that you can retain in your herd? I sold a couple cows last year to a bull customer that's been an awesome bull buyer, buying top end bulls from me, spending great money. I said, we were just kind of hanging out and talking. I said, how come you never buy any cows? He goes, just enjoy buying bulls from me. I said, you ever thought to yourself, you could come buy a pretty dang good cow from me for probably $2,500, $3,000 that's AI bred, do the same time as the bulls that you're buying from me, then you could just raise that bull calf and retain him in your herd. And trust me, not that I don't want to sell this guy bulls, but you know what I mean?
Right.
It's not always the question of which one's the best, it's what do you need.
Right. Right.
So I make sure I go through that from everybody. And a lot of people won't know how to answer that question. They're like, well, I don't know. Well, I said, well, let's get that figured out.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you want your program to go? What do you need? What do you want to accomplish? Then I'll go through my catalog with you and show you which ones can help you there.
Mm-hmm. What a great way to treat customers.
Right.
So.
And the always question is, how much money is this one going to bring? How much money is that one going to bring? And I'll be the first one to tell you it. I hate doing that because I don't know.
Right.
I won't know until the hammer drops. But if somebody comes in and tells me their budget is this, I'll go way up into ones that I hope bring way more than that. But you never know, and I don't want somebody to not raise their hand on a good one because some reason sold cheap that day. So
right.
I won't leave good ones off your list. I want you to be prepared to buy the best you absolutely can for your budget.
Mm-hmm. Right. There's another sale manager that I'm friends with. He says you got to be on the edge of your seat and always pay attention to those.
Absolutely. And like I said, I've seen $3,000 heifers leave this farm and go on to make hundreds. So there is always that one.
Right.
So always be prepared for that and do your research and use me as a reference. I'll be straight honest with you, and I'll grade this sale right down to the last one if you want me to. So you're prepared for it, and then I'm not afraid to do that. And like I said, the best business is always honest business. So I'll try to be as honest as I can with everybody.
Right. Well, that's great, and makes for great people to work with. Makes for a great sale, whether it's an absolute knockout, crazy numbered sale or not. But when you leave Riley Brothers, you know what you got, what you wanted, and they're going to take care of you.
Right. And I tell you what, we went through and preg checked these cows the other day, and they are bred up. I was a little nervous when we bred these cows. It was really, really hot for us during breeding season, and I got a little nervous on that. But we preg checked them the other day, and I bred these things all the way to the bottom of the sale, and you're going to take yourself home an AI calf and a good calf. So a lot of them I bred to our trust fund bull. It was a lot one bull in our sale last year. He's a growth fund. He's a full sale to the top selling heifer that Herbster's bought and shown in the PGS show last year. It's a bull that Gramius has bought. I think one of the best young herd sire prospects I've sold here. Phenotypically wise, number set wise, just all around really, really good calf. So I'm excited to get those out in other people's herds. I think people are going to be super pleased with them. If them calves are just half as good as that bull is, we'll have some exceptional feedback on that, I'm assuming. So lots of the other ones are bred to current sires that are in the breed. So I'm not always just trying to prove my bulls when I'm going ahead and breed and sale cattle, but I'll breed to a lot of bulls that are current. I mean, I believe every bull needs a different cow, and that's a question I get asked a lot too, is what bulls are you using during breeding season? I start with a list of 30 bulls, and I breed all 30 of them. Every cow has flaws and strengths, and they need to be mated accordingly. So you'll see that through the sale, but that'll be a really, really good set of bred heifers and bred cows.
Well, that's awesome. And you started talking about the bulls that you sold. You guys do still have the bull sale every spring?
Yep. It's always the third Saturday in February. we'll sell about 60 or 70 bulls.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say plug the bull sale just a bit while you got a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like we said, we're a performance-based herd, and we realize our customers get paid by the pound. So, when I go to start selecting them bulls, I'll usually start with about 150 for the bull sale.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go through and we'll feed them after weaning. Obviously, at weaning, if you're not up to par off the cow, that's the first cut. After that, we put you in the yard, get on some feed. I'll cut you again in a month if you're not picking up and gaining weight with the rest.
Mm-hmm.
So performance is our first cut.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll go in and we'll cut on feet. I'll run these things up on cement. We'll stand there and stare at them, me and Tim, and we will absolutely, I don't care who you are or what your pedigree is or what your EPDs are, if you got some bad feet on you, you're coming off.
Mm-hmm.
And then docility. So I'll start with 120, 150, and we'll weed it down to 65, 70 that we feel real comfortable with.
Oh, wow.
And it's one thing we've all learned in the cattle business is keeping bull customers happy is always the biggest task of the year. So I want to make sure that product is as close to perfect as I can make it.
Mm-hmm. Right. And when when you start with that many, you're not trying to hang on to them or anything like that. You're looking for reasons to get them out of there, probably more than anything.
Exactly. So it's a process that I really enjoy, and it's fun watching them bulls grow up and watching them change and seeing who's going to be the man of the group. And it's something that's really fun. And I think as Angus breeders, too many times we get lost in having the greatest female or topping the sale or having the biggest average. But when it comes back down to it, the whole purpose of this thing is to breed bulls for the commercial cattlemen. And we got to make sure that we're still doing that.
And keep you in the business.
Right.
One thing before we totally get off this catalog deal, he asked you to put 3 or 6 cows in the back, and you couldn't do that. But if they're maybe not looking at the catalog, what did you decide to go ahead and do in the back of that catalog?
Okay, so we kind of touched base on that earlier, and I could have picked 3 cows or could have picked 6 cows that, in my mind, are the greatest. Maybe somebody else wouldn't agree with me, or Glenn would call me and chew my ass about it. But I think we just couldn't narrow that down. And I didn't feel comfortable, and I didn't want somebody to feel left out. So I tell you what I decided to do is with Joel, I said, hey, let's go through. And I said, I'm so nervous about leaving somebody out or offending somebody that I didn't put their cow in there that let's just list every single person that's ever bought an animal from them and write them a thank you in the back of our book. So if you'll see the back 2 pages of our book, there's about 370 buyers of people that have bought cattle from us over the past 10 years. And I'm thankful for each and every single one of them, and I just wanted to list their names and then put them in the book and give them some recognitions for being not only customers but friends to us. So we appreciate that, and I think that's the fairest way I could have done that.
Right, and that's awesome. Not very often do you see that, and I really appreciate that, and think that's really a neat deal.
Cool. Well, I appreciate it, and trust me, I was really racking my brain over Joel's legacy cow idea for a couple of days, and I just couldn't come about a good way to do that fairly. So this is the fairest way to do it, and I hope people have fun looking at that. And it's something we're really proud of, is to have that many customers and that many people that have bought cattle here and believe in us. So just a little tribute to them guys for our decade sale.
Right. Well, it is an Angus Decade Edition. It's the 10th annual fall production sale of the Riley Brothers, and it will be held Saturday, September 11th at 5 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time in Darlington, Wisconsin. And Chad, anything else we need to know about these cattle, about the sale, or anything about the operation before we close this thing out?
I would say if you need to know anything more, just make time to give me a call at night. Visit our Facebook page, website, anywhere you can grab information. My phone number is on all them places. Give me a call, and like I said, I'll give you a good, honest opinion on these cattle. I'll talk to you about which ones I like and which ones might fit you the best. And if you have any questions at all, I mean, nobody knows the cattle better than me. I live and breathe with them every day, and I'll give you a good, honest opinion and help you along with any questions you need.
Well, that's great, and I know, guys, when I called Chad and we talked, why it was straight up right as soon as we started, and was telling me some honest things, and so I just really appreciate that, and Chad, really appreciate you helping me get this podcast put together, and I want to wish you luck there on the sale on September 11th. And again, just appreciate it and want to wish you luck, man.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks for having me on, and thanks for the wishes. I appreciate it.
Again, the Riley Brothers, an Angus Decade Edition 10th Annual Fall Production Sale, Saturday, September 11th at 5 o'clock in Darlington, Wisconsin. And we want to thank Chad, we want to thank the Riley Brothers and wish them luck, and we want to thank you for listening to another edition of Before the Bid podcast. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Before the Bid. For more information and to learn more about upcoming podcasts and sales, visit us at beforethebid.podbean.com or Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram pages. For information on being a guest on Before the Bid, please email us at beforethebid@gmail.com or one of our social media pages. Remember, that's beforethebid@gmail.com. Happy sales to you, and we will talk to you next time on Before the Bid.